we'll be talking about the conventional and also the unconventional paths that one can opt for while you're in law. So to begin, let's just see what we are actually going to discuss here. I'll first talk about my experience for masters in law, LLM as a career to do after you are done with your graduation in law, then judicial services, academics, some government services that you can opt for after becoming a lawyer, and then also a field of legal researcher. That's something I feel that is presented to us as something boring. So I wanted to talk to you about that as well. Okay, to begin with, the first is masters in law. As you know, there is a constant hustle whether we should go for masters in law once we are done with our graduation, because as you know, it takes almost 5 to 6 years to complete graduation in law. If it is a 5-year course, it will take you 5, and if you're pursuing 3-year law course, so it'll take you 6 years to become nearly an advocate. Hence, people usually don't prefer to do masters after graduation. But let me tell you my experience. I had already thought that I'll pursue my masters no matter what. So I appeared for entrances. I appeared for CLAT. I got a good score. I got a good rank, and then I went into RGNUL for my masters. There, I was just interested for masters for the sake that I wanted to study more. I was interested in law, but then once I was there, I realized that how good that decision was, because there are so many things that masters LLM opens up for you. Option that LLM opens up for you, which will not be with your graduation degree, is academics. Because the basic eligibility criteria for academics, you might know, is masters and then UGC net. We'll talk about that further. But to tell you a little bit about masters, as you know that there are a variety of colleges that you can opt for. And then there are also specializations that you can opt for. So far, till this year, Masters in Law from India is 1 year. Next year, it might become a 2-year course as per what is available in the public domain so far. So in Masters in Law, you basically opt for one field that you specialize in. For example, my Masters was in criminal law. So besides studying other subjects, I was primarily, focusing on criminal law, which is what my Masters was in. There are n number of options that you can opt for. Business laws masters is very popular, IPR, and there are things like taxation or whatever you're interested in. You can find a suitable college according to your interest areas, and then you can try and get into a good school for masters. Besides that, there's also another option that you can go for, masters abroad. So that is probably talk of another day, because that is itself a very elaborate topic. But just to give you a brief of the options that you have, you can either pursue your masters in India, or you can go abroad to pursue your masters from any university there. It actually opens up good options, like I was telling you, because there are so many job opportunities which specify either masters to be their eligibility to apply, and if not that, masters in law is always given preference. So let's say if two people are applying for a job and one is a master's and another is not, so according to usual criteria, a master's and LLM person is given a preference basically in that job application. So you can't say that it is of no use. It actually opens up your mind. And even in sphere of law, I must tell you my experience, masters teaches you the holistic and the critical appreciation of law. That's something that not everybody can actually experience while in their graduation, but the degree of LLM is designed so to equip you to critically and holistically see law. So that's another plus. Moving forward, next is the topic of judicial services. As everybody knows that this is a very popular career option that people are choosing these days after law, and it has reasons. It is backed by reasons, of course. It is a very secured government job, very reputed, and just as they say, once you're into it, your life is set. So a lot of law students, in fact, school students have approached me asking about if they want to go into judicial services, what kind of college should opt for or something like that. So to tell you a little bit basics about opting for judicial services, every state in India is having their separate judicial services exam. And it is a three-staged process, just like IAS exams in India, where the first step will be the preliminary examination, which will be an MCQ paper consisting of a wide syllabus. And then once you qualify that, which is usually this preliminary exam is a qualifying exam. So, which means that if, let's say, the exam is of 200 marks, they have put up a barricade of, let's say, 150 marks. If you secure that cut-off marks, you qualify to sit for the mains stage. And in mains, it is a subjective exam by which there are 4 or 5 exams that you have to write in. So unlike preliminary, which is just an MCQ paper with 4 or 5 options, in mains you write big answers. You write proper answer sheets, and on the basis of mains, you qualify for the interview stage of judiciary. So in the collective score of interview and mains actually makes you qualify the exam. Usually the weightage of both these stages depend from state to state, and even the criteria of preparation depends from stage to stage. From state to state, that's primarily because usually states have their own set patterns and syllabuses for judicial services. So your preparation for judiciary would primarily depend upon what state that you're aiming for. I know a lot of people who might be thinking here to go for judiciary have doubts in their mind because it's such a big thing and there is so much information around that you're always confused how to go about it, what to do, where to study from. So feel free to ask questions in chat box here. I'll try to answer as many as I can in the given time frame. But otherwise also I'll try to connect with you so that you can ask me doubts or questions, and I can also share my experience in elaboration with you about judicial services examination. I'll tell you my experience of judiciary tells me that it is actually grueling. It is very painstaking examination and preparation. It takes not just time and effort, but also patience. This I'm saying from my experience because the government exams, they take a long time. So it might get notified, then they might give you some time for prelims, then the main stage will happen in few months. And then after a long wait, you might get your result and then appear for interview. So on an average, it takes minimum a year to actually go through one cycle of a state judiciary exam. And considering that we are in COVID time, even now, this time period has increased. So it is good in a way that gives you more time to prepare, but then again, it is also very grueling in terms of sitting down and studying without having an exam in front of you. So that's something that everybody struggles with. And that's something that you need to prepare yourself for once you're planning to go into judiciary. Next, we are talking about the field of academics. So like I said, the basic criteria to get into academics is you need to have a master's in law, and then you need to qualify a paper called UGC NET. So this is a paper conducted by University Grants Commission, and it makes you eligible to apply for the post of Assistant Professor of Law. This is the first designation that you get once you are into academics. And as an academician, you can opt for a variety of things, private colleges, government colleges, universities, and everything. Besides that, like Sanya would also talk about in elaboration, there's also a growing, field of online academician these days that would definitely not require any qualification or degrees, but then that's another sphere. That's altogether a different area that you can see for yourself and explore. I have taken note of your doubt, Nidhi. I'll take up once I'm done with my presentation. Don't worry, we'll talk about it. So coming back to academics, Assistant Professor of Law is the designation that you get. And, just as everybody says, academics is a very decent job to opt for. That's primarily because it is not very burdensome, just as, it is there in law firms, private law firms, or any advocate's office. Also another point with academics is that it's decently paying. So that's something that people actually get attracted towards academics for. You can dwell into it, look into it more, but the basic criteria to tell you is LLM and UGC. UGC is an exam that you just need to qualify for academics. But another point to note, if you're opting for an institutional academician job, is that you need to have your PhDs. You cannot survive into academics without PhD. So be prepared. If you're thinking of academics as an option for yourself, you have to sooner or later go through PhD and have your PhD degree with you. So that's something that you need to take care of. Next, we have government services. I've written government services broadly because there are so many kind of exams that you can appear for and have a so-called sarkari naukri into the law. These can be either PSU jobs. PSUs are public sector units, public sector undertakings. They usually have their own entrances and then followed by an interview, or recent years, the trend of PSUs has been that they take your merit on the basis of CLAT exam, CLAT PG. So the exam that you sit for at the time of CLAT for your LLM degree, that is the exam that a lot of PSUs are taking into consideration to scrutinize people for PSUs. So what happens usually is a lot of PSUs, just like Bharat Petroleum or BHEL or RLA, so many, they put out an advertisement notification that we are looking for legal officers grade A, grade B, and then you can apply there on the basis of your CLAT rank. So they consider the all India ranks of all the applicants, and then on the basis of that merit list, they call people for an interview. So this again, if you have appeared for LLM, CLAT LLM PG course, basically, that exam entitles you, they give you an option to appear for PSU's eligibility. So you can apply for PSU specifically, whatever PSU have notified their applications, and then you can appear for their interview if you qualify the merit list. Next is ADA. So ADA usually is an exam or a post that is known by different names in every state. So I can talk about Punjab and Haryana, where ADA is the name for the exam. This is an exam conducted by the government departments for the advocate, district attorney. Basically, every state has a different name for it. Some states call it PP, the other states call it ADA or DA. So this is the exam wherein you qualify. It is usually an MCQ paper, and it's just one state. So after MCQ, you directly appear for an interview if you qualify, and thereafter you take the position of a sarkari vakil, so to say. That is a job that you do usually with an attorney general's office or a prosecution department of the state. And thereafter, you're looking into the cases from the government side. So you are probably looking into the cases that are to be, going into High Court for appeal, drafting for them, and also solicitation to the government departments, whatever is required of you. That is also a good option to consider after your graduation, because the basic eligibility for these exams is graduation. And if you have studied your law, you can easily appear for that exam. You just need to look up that, whenever it is getting notified and what is the syllabus, and then you can actually prepare accordingly for that. Next is legal officers. Legal officers is the usual general term that is, notified for by a lot of government departments. So state governments usually, or even a lot of government departments, so to say, they notify for their requirements of legal officers, grade A, grade B, whatever scale they are, actually recruiting for. And usually this the legal officer job is on the basis of your CV, your experience, number of years experience, and primarily your interview. So that depends on whatever you're applying for. But a lot of people do not know. Once they're into law, they don't know that this is also an option that they can actually look after. So the idea of this webinar is to just tell you what all options you have, so that next time you are looking onto something, you can just take a note of it and dwell more into it as to what is required of you to appear for that particular job application or that opportunity. Next is the sphere of legal researcher. I know everybody thinks what kind of boring job that might be, to be a legal researcher. I don't know kya hoga usme. You might have your inhibitions about the job. and the opportunities that you have in this field. But let me tell you, this is a very good field for somebody who is interested into reading law and also something with regard to social service or let's say field work. Because a lot of universities, a lot of projects, government departments, they recruit legal researchers sometimes on project basis or sometimes for full-time employment with them. By that I mean, so usually a lot of government departments, universities, for example, National Law University Delhi, they are very good with their legal researching. So they take up projects in association with the government departments and then they recruit legal researchers for that project. So it can be either a 1 year employment, it can be either a 6 months employment that you can, opt for, that you can apply for. And therein you are required to go into basically into books research, which we call in research as doctrinal research, and also empirical research, by which I mean going on the field and actually asking people. Usually, researchers are in law, researchers are usually socio-legal, by which I mean the topics are chosen such to actually develop a relationship or inquire into a relationship between law and social conditions of the society. So to give you just a random example, if a government department is conducting a research into, let's say, live-in relationships, so there will be one part of the research getting into what are the laws on live-in relationship, the judgments thereon, and so on and so forth. And the other empirical research would require one to go into the field and look for people who can actually tell you their experiences, their problems, their outlooks about live-in relationships. So this way you can actually help policymakers and researchers further to actually make laws and policies in accordance with your surveys. This is a very, very upcoming field and it has no limit, let me tell you. From national level to international sphere, legal researchers are required everywhere. So that's something you can actually, evaluate yourself on, that if you're interested into research, this is a very good option. You can opt for multiple projects and you can actually have different kind of experiences into this field. A lot of people don't usually know about it. So that is why I've intentionally put it here to just tell you that this is also an option that you can actually consider. Next, to just actually, wind it up here, my areas that I had spoken on. In case you have any queries with regard to whatever my experience I've shared with you or the legal options that I've shared with you, you can connect with me on this channel. This is a YouTube channel that I have actually I'm running, Legal Blueprint. We also have an Instagram page by the name of Legal Blueprint. You can connect with me there and also ask your queries. We keep on putting videos on legal topics and also tell you how to prepare for exams like UGC NET or even Judiciary. So in case you have any queries, you can contact me there. I always try to help as many people as I can. So feel free to contact there. Okay, to talk about now the doubts. If anybody has any doubts with regard to whatever I have spoken on, please feel free to put that into the chat box. I'll first start with answering Nidhi Garg's doubt. So she's asking, according to you, when a student should start preparing for judicial services exam, like from second or third year or after completing 5 years of law? This is the basic question that every judicial aspirant is supposed to have, I feel, Unidhi. And, I feel there cannot be one answer to this question. Something like judiciary preparation, let me tell you, is a long process. And it is also very personal. So I can say any year, I can say that it depends on what kind of preparation that you're aiming for. So if you're, thinking of actually getting associated or enrolled in a judiciary coaching, I don't think you should think of it before your third year of law, not before third year of law in any case, because you can't study that much for that long. And anyway, आपको exams देने को आपकी degree के बाद ही मिलेगा. So you can't be sitting home preparing diligently for it for years. This usually I have seen that people get saturated and exhausted if they start their preparation early. So do not commit this mistake. ठीक है, take your time, enjoy your law school, at least initial 2-3 years, and then you can sit for it. My recommendation would be to sit for it from your fourth year of law. This is what I did. I started my judiciary preparation for my fourth year of law. So the only benefit that gives you is that you have good amount of 2 years before your graduation, and also it is not very saturating, because I have seen people who started preparation from their first year itself, but by the time they were in the fifth year, they were done with it. They had done it so much that they were just done with it. Do not commit that mistake. Fourth year, I think, would be decent time to start. Rest all depends on how you want to prepare. Are you looking for self-study, or are you looking for getting enrolled into a judiciary coaching? That depends. Okay. Next, we have a doubt from Akash Datta. What is it that is required to get into PSU as a legal counsel? Okay. So Akash, like I said, PSUs usually, as for recent years, what they have started to do is they accept the rank of CLAT PG. So that requires you to have a good rank, first of all, in the CLAT PG exam. It depends from year to year how much merit can get you into a good PSU, but usually it is said that you need to aim to have your CLAT rank, All India ranks, in top 100, at least top 100 ranks. I'm saying 100 generously, I'm like assuring you, but you need to have a good CLAT rank to begin with, and then if you qualify in their merit list, you can be called on for the personal interview. This is, I'm telling you, the scenario of the usual PSUs, which collectively do it, either collectively or personally. This is the trend kuch saalon se. But there are also other set of any PSUs who just generally take their exam or opt for merit of some other exam. So that you can specifically look into. Generally, they accept CLAT PG ka score. So that is the way that you can get into a PSU. Good salary, decent job, good option to consider. Next, we have Swati Sharma. Ma'am, which is more beneficial, going for placements after CLAT PG or prepare for judicial services after BBA, BA LLB? Swati, let me tell you, there are not a lot of placement options after CLAT PG. I'm so sorry, to burst that bubble, but there are not. That is the hard truth to accept. CLAT PG does not give you a lot of placement options, so to say. It opens up certain things for you, but it doesn't mean कि आपने किसी भी college से law किया and then you appear for CLAT का exam, you sit for you basically take any NLU for LLM, and then you think कि अच्छा चलो अब मेरी life sorted है because I'll get placed from college. This is not how it happens. And कोई comparison नहीं है इन दोनों चीजों में, जुडिशरी प्रिपरेशन या CLAT PG के बाद प्लेसमेंट्स में बैठने में. These are very different things. Placements usually जिस sphere में की जाती हैं, even after from any NLU का LLM, that is usually the corporate side. It is the corporate sector of law that recruits, from the NLUs after LLM, and that is very different from the judiciary preparation. So दोनों के लिए बहुत different mindset और preparation चाहिए. I don't think I can actually justify comparing these two. It all depends on what you want from your life. In general, लॉन्ग टर्म में आपको कैसी लाइफ चाहिए, उसके बेसिस पे आप डिसाइड कर सकते हो कि आपको क्या प्रिपरेशन डालनी है, क्या पाथ चूज करना है. ओके, नेक्स्ट इज चंचल शर्मा. मैम, हाउ कैन वी प्रिपेयर फॉर जैग एंड अदर गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज? वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन, चंचल. अदर गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज से आई कांट एक्चुअली मेक आउट व्हाट यू वांट टू आस्क. You've mentioned JAG specifically, so I'll tell you a little bit about JAG. For JAG, the good thing is that you get eligible to appear for SSB for JAG just on the basis of your graduation degree. So once a JAG notification is out, they ask you to fill a form. On the basis of your graduation, you can directly go for SSB, जो 5 days का एक बहुत ही grueling process होता है किसी भी आर्मी आर्मी सर्विसेज में जाने का. So इसकी preparation, to prepare for JAG, you just need to have your graduation, and then you need to prepare for SSB exam. Next, we have Pranjwal. Ma'am, for appearing in UPSC, what is the good time to start? I'm currently in my first year. Do not start in first year. I'll begin there. So UPSC preparation again is very long, just like judiciary.
No,
it is actually.
I'm in my third year. It was a typo. I'm in my third year.
Okay, no problem. Pranjwal, I can't actually answer कि कब start करो. It depends on again वही बात कि how do you want to prepare. Self study करना है, किसी coaching में enroll करना है. Usually, I've seen the trends and my friends around who were preparing for UPSC. They began in their fourth or fifth year. Usually self study या फिर they opted for coaching in their final year or after graduation. So it all depends. पहले तो you had to probably shift to another city to opt for a coaching. अब तो सब कुछ online है. So it depends on what suits you, how you can manage things. But again, I'll say the same thing like I said to judiciary wala question. Do not over pressurize yourself. Don't make it so long for yourself कि तुम पहले ही थक जाओ, जबकि अपने attempt देने से पहले तुम्हारा हो जाए कि बस now I'm done. Okay. Next is Shreya. I will be little quick with this now because we are actually very late. Sanya has also a lot of things to tell you. Shreya, ma'am, is it compulsory to pass UGC exam for professorship in a private university, private college? Yes, Shreya, it is good. Otherwise, they don't pay you according to your caliber and eligibilities, So if you do not have a UGC exam, the pay that you're actually recruited for is actually very less compared to a UGC, qualified person. So you must clear your UGC net. Shalini, ma'am, masters in which law is more beneficial? Shalini, that is actually depends on what you want out of your masters. आपको किस लिए masters में जाना है उस चीज पे उसकी specialization का जवाब मैटर करता है. Corporate में जाना है तो definitely you'll opt for something like an IPR or a business law or something like that. अगर आपको let's say academics में जाना है so you can opt for any according to your interest because demand academics में हर तरह के subject की है. I will skip on to this comment. Thank you so much, Shubham. Next, we have Sonali Shukla. How to prepare for UPSC? That is a very big question, Sonali. I think we will need actually a different webinar for this question. So I have to skip it there. I'm so sorry. Shubham. Thank you so much, Shubham, for so much appreciation. Vandana, after completing graduation in law, if somebody wants to move in a foreign country, what should be the career opportunity for them? Vandana, usually this will also take us another webinar to talk about. I'm so sorry. But feel free to contact me. I'll put you in touch with a friend of mine who has actually gone out and who can discuss in detail, such things with you. So you can contact me on Legal Blueprints Instagram or YouTube page.